Hope you're all doing well. Today we're learning Maseches Bava Basra Daf Ayin Hey. It's a Zaftig Daf. The whole thing that we will be learning today, at least, is going to be Agadata. We're going to be stopping when the Gemara returns back to halachic stuff, but tomorrow night, Mirza Hashem, we're going to catch up. So tomorrow night we're going to learn Ayin Vav and most of Ayin Zayin, if not all of Ayin Zayin. We'll see how far we get, at least to the Mishnah on Ayin Zayin and Beis, which will then put us in good working order to be caught up as promised. Beautiful. We're right now 4 lines down on Ayin Hamid Aleph. Again, some of these stories are just going to require patience until we have time to learn it with the Meforshim, but that will not be this go around. 4 lines down on Ayin Hey Amid Aleph. Just make sure we're recording. We are. Kiyasa Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi showed up, Amar, he said in the name of Rav Yochanan, the Shasha Livyasan Ra'iv, when the Livyasan animal, the sea monster, is hungry, it lets a breath out of its mouth that boils and heats up the waters of the depths. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says, and this is a pasuk from Eov, Yartiach Kasir Metzula, the depths will be warmed like a pot. Yom Yasim ke merkacha. Oh, sorry, that part's not even quoted in our Gemara. And v'ilmale machnis rosho legan Eden, if the Livyasan in this moment of hunger would not have put his head into Gan Eden, and kolberia yichola la'amod berecho, his breath would have been such a horrible stench, no one could have been able to tolerate it. But he had put his head, again, he put his head into Gan Eden. It's like a breath mint. But that's what the Gemara says over here. Shene'emar yom yasim ki merkacha. The waters that he placed were like a merkacha, like a good smelling scent. All of that has to do with food. Uvishashet sama, when the Livyasan is thirsty, oset tlamim tlamim bayam, it drinks and it creates furrows in the bottom of the ocean. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says, also a pasuk in Eov, acharav yoir nasiv. After him, there is a brightness in its path. We know the Livyasan was a very bright-looking animal, as we'll soon see. And that's what happened on the bottom of the ocean. It takes 70 years for the bottom of the ocean to return to where it was. This is the remainder of the previous pasuk, as it says, Yachshov tahom l'seva. And we know seva is mipnei seva takum, right? Ve'ein seva pchusa mishivim. So that's how we know it takes 70 years for the furrows on the ground to resettle, to go back to its initial strength. What does the word strength mean over here? Ayin in the Mefarshim. Next, 5 lines into the wide lines on Ayin Hey Amud Aleph. Amar Rabba Amar Rav Yochanan. Asir HaKadosh Baruch Hu laso suda letzadikim mibasar shel Livyasan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make a suda for the righteous out of the flesh of the Livyasan. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says, another pasuk in Eov, Yichru alav chabarim. Where do we see a suda? Where do we see Talmidei Chachamim and Tzadikim here? Be'ein kara, says the Gemara El Suda Shene'amar, as the pasuk says in Malachim, Vayichre Elohem Kera Gedola V'yochlu V'yishtu. So we see clearly in the context the Shoresh of Chaf Reisheh is dealing with the Suda. Ve'in Chabar Mel Talmidei Chachamim Shene'amar, as the pasuk says in Shir Hashirim, Hayosheves Bagonim Chaverim Makshivim Lekolech Hashmi'ini. The ones who listen to your word, the ones sitting in the garden, is obviously a reference to Talmidei Chachamim, who are called Chaverim, and the word association from that to Chabarim is clear, and therefore we know that Asir HaKadosh Baruch Hu laso suda l'tzadikim mibsar shel Livyasan. V'asha'ar, after the tzadikim eat, there's going to be flesh left over. What happens with the rest of the meat? V'asha'ar mechalken oso v'osim bo schora b'shukei Yerushalayim. The meat is then sold to saturate the market. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says, and this one is incorrectly quoted here. It's what? Oh yes, it is back to Eov. It is not incorrect. I'm incorrect. The rest of the pasuk reads from the pasuk we saw earlier about the Talmidei Chachamim, Yechetzu bein Kenaanim, that it will be dispersed or cut between the Kenaanim. What does Kenaanim mean? Bein Kenaanim ela tagarim. That's a reference to merchants. And we see that the word Canaanim refers to merchants in 2 different locations. Shene'emar, here's pasuk number 1. This pasuk can be found in Hosea. Canaan biyado mozne mirma la'ashok ohev. The Canaan has biyado mozne mirma. He has product that he's doing trickery with. So we see that we're talking about Canaan as a merchant. And the next one is v'baisema mehacha. The next pasuk, which is found in Yeshayahu. This is like a nice spread from all over Tanakh. This pasuk says, Asher sochareha sarim kin oneha. It's actually not kin oneha, it's kin oneha. Nichbadei oretz. And here too, the sochares arm kinaneha, same exact reference that the kinaneha are a reference to tagarim and merchants. It's almost season for us to build sukkahs, and in Allah Asilava, Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to build a sukkah for the tzaddikim, where the walls are made out of the skin of the Levyasan. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says back from Eov, Hasmalei Visukos Oro, that are we going to fill the sukkah with the or of the Levyasan? Says the Gemara, Zacha, if a person is righteous enough, then Osin lo sukkah. That is what he will benefit from the skin, from the skins of the Levyasan. Lo Zacha, if he wasn't quite as righteous, then Osin lo Tziltel. We'll make some type of shade or canopy. Shenemar with Tziltel Dagim Rosho. Tziltel Dagim was a type of cover, a type of umbrella, type of a thing. Zacha Osin lo Tziltel. If you're that level of righteousness, which is one level down, then you get this Tziltel. Lo Zacha, then Osin lo Anak, then we'll take some of the skin and make a necklace for that person. Shnemar ba'anakim lagargarosecha. They'll make this thing for your neck that's made out of the skin of the Levyasan. Zacha, if you're that level of tzaddik, then osin lo anak, lo zacha, osin lo kamiya. Then you make a kamiya, a little amulet. Shnemar ba'tiksheren l'na'arosayich. Ve'ashe'ar. What about all of the skin that's left over? Porsa HaKadosh Baruch Hu al chomos Yerushalayim. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take the remaining skin and he's going to hang it over the walls of Yerushalayim. We could picture it in our own eyes walking through Shar Yafa. We could picture what that would look like, a beautiful thing. Vizivo mavik misofa olam va'ad sofo. The sheen of the skin as it hangs on the wall in the sunlight is so bright it would light up the world from one end to the other end. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says from as the pasuk says from Yeshaya, very good. So a lot of discussion about the Levyasan, what level of tzaddik you are depends on what level of benefit you get from the skins of the animal. V'chule. Let's talk a little bit about the Amos Mashiach, which should hopefully be B'karov in our days. Says the Gemara, and this pasuk is from Sefer Yeshaya, the Samti Kad Kod Shimsho Sayich. I'm going to place a cod code for you to use. Amr Shmuel Bar Nachmani Pligi Trei Malachi Birakia. Gabriel and Michael had an argument about this. The Amri La, some say it was not Malachim up there, but it was Talmid Chachamim down here. Amr La Tremarai B'Ma'arava and Eretz Yisrael Mani Nun Yehuda B'Chizkiya B'nei Rabbi Chia, brothers. Chadamar Shoham Chadamar Yashve. That the pasuk says we're talking about one of two different types of gems. One is a Shoham and one is a Yashve. Amr Lo Kadosh Baruch Hu Lehavik Kedeinu Chadenu. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, let it be either one of them. And that's a little play on words because the pasuk said, V'samti kad kod, kadein v'chadein, this and this, which is the same exact thing, referencing both the Shoham and the Yashve. What does the pasuk mean? A pasuk in Yeshayahu, which says, Ush arayich le'avnei ekdach, your gates will be stones that are carved out. So the Gemara tells a fascinating story, halfway down on Ayin Hey Amid Aleph. He's going to find one stone that's 30 by 30. That is cash money. That is a big special stone. Now we find a diamond that's 10 carats. It's like lo yu'uman, that you'd find something that's a nugget like that. It's million, whatever it costs, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. This would be billions of dollars, 30 feet, 30 amos. That's a 45 foot by 45 foot, two-dimensional rock, a stone, a precious stone. And v'chokek b'hen eser al esrin, and there will be a cutaway, so it's 30 by 30 right to left, but they cut out eser al esrin, 10 wide, 20 tall to be a door. U'ma'amidim b'shar Yerushalayim. That's going to be the gateway. You walk up the Shar Yafo, 30 by 30 wide, but there's a cutout for the door in the middle. So you're looking at some serious real estate to have this precious stone. Says the Gemara halfway down on Ayin Hamid Al Ligle Galav Oso Talmud. There was a student there who was mocking Rabbi Yochanan. It's probably not a good idea to mock Rabbi Yochanan. Just saying. I guess in every generation there's an Erev Rav. Pick your Rebbe to mock. This is not the one to do it. He ended up paying for it with his life. Hashta Kibeasa de Tzitzla Lo Mashkachin. And we can't even find the egg of a small animal. We can't even find a tiny little nugget of the Shoham or the Yashve. Mashkachin and Kule Hai. Mashkechinan kulehai. How can that be? So it says the Gemara, Mashkechinan. Sorry, lo mashkechinan. Let's read that again. Hashta kibesa de tzitzla lo mashkechinan. Now that we can't find even a small, tiny nugget of this precious stone, kulehai mashkechinan. We're going to find a stone that's 30 by 30, and we're going to carve it out. Unbelievable. Liyamim, this Talmud was Yifligas Vinaso Bayam. Then this Talmud then went on the ocean. He saw the Malachi Asharis, and he saw that they were harvesting some type of stone that was 30 by 30, and it was cut out exactly like Rabbi Yochanan said, Eser Barum Esrim. So obviously the Rabbi Yochanan was right and the Talmud was wrong. So some of Farshim explained that the Talmud was actually having a dream. Because they didn't yet find this. It'll be be'ikvasad the Mashiach, hopefully be'karov bi'amenu. Amar lahu, the Talmud said, Hani leman. He said to the Malachi Ashars, what is this for? So Amrulay, the Malachi Ashar said back to the Talmud, who was malagleg on Rabbi Yochanan, Shasi the Kadosh Baruch Hu la'amida and b'shara Yerushalayim, just like Rabbi Yochanan said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. So then, the Talmud either wakes up or gets back to the reservation, shows up in yeshiva. Also, the comment of Yochanan Amar Le, the Rosh Rebbe, you did a good job. Could you imagine such a chutzpah? Like going to the Rebbe saying, like, yeah, you can give shiur tomorrow. You did spitz. You did a really good job. A chutzpah meir. Amar Lo, Rabbi Yochanan wasted no breath. Reka, you empty one. Ilmale Ra'isa, had you not seen it? Lo ha'emanta. Melagleg al divrei chachamim. What's wrong with you? Tamid Chachamim are right. You're wrong. So it says the Gemara, Nasan eina bo v'nasa gal shalatzamos. That's not good. We've seen this phrase a couple of times throughout Shas. On the side here, one is in Sanhedrin that we have yet to see in this frame, but it also says that it's in Brachos and Shabbos. I feel like we've seen it like 5 or 6 or 7 times, but it's not an uncommon phrase in Shas, and the guy died. A bag of bones. But there's a problem. The problem is not from a Talmud, but from a Brisa. Rabbi Yochanan said that the doorway was going to be a large block of stone 30 by 30 with a cutout of 20 tall by 10 wide. But that's a problem because Meisvei, the Gemara says in a Brisa, based on the pasuk of Olecha Eschem Kumim Yusei, you're going to be standing tall. Remeir Omer Masayim Amma, people are going to be tall. They're going to be 200 amos tall. Kishtei Komos Shel Adam Harishon. And Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mei Amma Keneged Heichal Uksalav. Shneimar Asher Baninu Kinetim Megudalim Ben Oreim Ben Oseinu Kezavios Mechutavos Tabnes Heichal. So here we have a steer in the Brisa because it seems that people are going to be 100 amos tall. What do you do when the doorway is a third of your height? You have to crawl. Pasnisht. That can't be the structure of the way that Yerushalayim is built. So answers the Gemara. Kika Amar of Yochanan Lekave de Bezika. He was just talking about the windows. The doors are going to be even bigger. He was just talking about the windows having a window trim. Imagine if you're rehabbing a house. You're like, how about I put in a gemstone around the window, which is 30 almost by 30, almost 40. That's like the width of my whole house. It's bigger than the width of my whole house. My house is not 45 feet wide. My property is 40 feet wide. It's a massive amount of gemstone. But this was only on the windows. The window treatments were beautiful. And they were 30 by 30 with a cutout of 10 by 20. There's going to be 7 chuppahs for each tzaddik. Shne'emar, as the pasuk says, "V'ora Hashem al kol mechon har Tzion v'al mikraeha." This phrase v'al mikraeha, the ones who are called, we're going to analyze. Anan yomam, v'ashan, v'noga, eish, lehava, laila, and ki al kol kavod chuppah. Milame, those are the 7. Shkol echad v'echad oselo kadosh baruch hu chuppah lefi chavodo. So everybody gets a chuppah based on their level of tzidkah. So if I'm a B minus, then I get a B minus chuppah. If I'm an A plus, I get an A plus chuppah. Whatever the case may be. Asks the Gemara, 3/4 of the way down. Ha'ashan v'chuppah lama. Why would you want smoke at a chuppah? Smoke is something that takes away clarity. It doesn't add clarity. Why would anybody want that? Says the Gemara. It's not a gishmak. You're right. Amar of Chanina shekol mi she'einav tzaros betalmid chachamim ba'olam hazeh. Bismalos einav ashan la'olam haba. Anyone who has their eyes squinted at rabbis, they're questioning, do you think he's right? Do you think he knows what he's talking about? So chas v'shalom, because if we do treatment like that, then in the olam ha'emes, we are going to have cloudy eyes. Mismale onav ashan le'olam haba. And ve'esh b'chuppah lama. Why would we have fire by a chuppah? That can't be good. Amar Reb Chanina malamed shekol echad ve'echad nichve mechupaso shel chavero. Oy la la'osa busha. If you thought you were a tzaddik and then you see the person next to you who was a bigger tzaddik, you're nichve, you're burned. If only what I would have been a little bit better. If only I would have set up my life in a way where I did fewer Averos, or if I did. Rabbi Robinson and Rabbi Schechter talk about this from the pulpit right and left. You have to chop around, grab another Seder, grab another 5 minutes. So if we never take advantage of that, we're gonna be upset when we get called to din on it. It's not gonna be good. That's what it means. That's why there's fire. And Kayotze Badavar Omer, we have another place where we see of Oila Osabusha. Where is this? The pasuk says, "V'nasata mehodcha alav." The pasuk says, this pasuk is found in Sefer Bamidbar, where Moshe is going to give some of his hod to Yehoshua, L'man Yishmu Kol Adas B'nei Yisrael. He is passing over the power from Moshe to Yehoshua. So he gave over his hod. What's the drasha? What's the diuk from the pasuk? V'lo kol hodcha. You're not giving over everything. There is no other Moshe. I mean, Moshe bad Moshe lokam k'Moshe. Yehoshua wasn't like Moshe. It was a lesser version. After all, the Gemara says the Kanim Shabos Sador Amru Pnei Moshe Kepnei Chama. When they looked at Moshe, it was like looking at the brightness of the sun. Pnei Yoshua Kepnei Levana. But there was a big degradation even from that one generation. Just imagine we know how lowly we are, but imagine how lowly we are now, dozens and dozens and generations away from Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe was the sun. Yehoshua was the moon. What are we? A little pintala yid is like a little spark somewhere, hopefully, but we're way down the food chain. And in such a case, they said about Yoshua, "Oilo lo osa busha, oilo lo osa chlima." So it's embarrassing. At least it was for him. Yoshua was lo yamush mipiawel. He was a big tzaddik gomer. We couldn't even compare if we tried. But even between those two doros of Moshe to Yoshua, there was a big drop. Amar Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, Eser chupos asa kadosh baruch hu. There were 10 chupos for him in Gan Eden. Shne'emar, as the pasuk says in Yechezkel, and I'm actually going to read the whole pasuk on the side because the ikr part of the pasuk is missing from inside the Gemara. The pasuk reads, Be'eden Gan Elokim, Ha'isa kol even yakara misukasecha, Odem pitada v'yahalom, Tarshish shoham v'yashvei, Sapir nofach uvarkas uzahav. That's what the pasuk says. So those are the 10 stones that are referenced here, that Rabbi Chama says were the 10 chupos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made for Adam HaRishon. Mar Zutra says there's actually an 11th. Mar Zutra Amar, Achasis Reish Amar Kol Even Yakara, that part of the pasuk that we didn't even read yet. Amar Rav Yochanan V'Garua Shebechulan Zav, it seems to be that the least expensive of all of the stones referenced in the pasuk by Adam HaRishon, the pasuk from Yechezkel, is gold, which means that all the other ones were even more expensive. The Kachashiv Leila V'Sof, it was listed last. The Zav was listed last. So that shows us that all of these things were even more expensive than gold. What did the rest of this pasuk mean when it said? The pasuk says, "Meleches tu pecha unikavecha." The work of your tupim, which is a drum and its holes. What is this referring to? Bach, excuse me. Amar Yehuda Marav, Amar Lo Kadosh Baruch Hu, L'chira Melech Tzor. Chira Melech Tzor was not a tzaddik. He deemed himself a deity. Probably a bad idea. And the Gemara says that a Kadosh Baruch Hu says to him, B'chani stakalti. I looked at you when I was creating the world. Uvarasi nekavim ba'adam. And because of Baalei Gaiva like you who say that they're deities, I make it be that you have to go to the bathroom. And a person has to defecate, a person has to urinate, a person has to blow their nose, all the orifices. So he says, I was thinking of you because you're such a Baal Gaiva that you said that. That's like the story in Chumash by Paro that he went at night, Lifnos Boker. What's that? Lifnos Boker? I can't remember. Lifnos something. Paro in pajamas in the middle of the night. My first grade Bikiyas is better than my Chumash Bikiyas. Anyways, the Gemara says, Vika de Amri, there's another version of this exact idea of Hachi Ka'amar, B'chani Stakalti, I looked at you, V'kanasti Misa al Adam HaRishon. Yikes. He says, I made a knas to Adam HaRishon, and the Rashbam writes at the top, B'hainu Tupecha, what do we mean by the drum? Hakever Shehu Chalul Kamotov. The burial space that you're in, the pine box, has an empty space in it that's kind of like a drum of sorts. What does the pasuk mean by Al Mikra'eha that I referenced we were going to be analyzing over here? So Al Mikra'eha, the ones who are called to it. So we will see what this means right here. Top of Ayin Hamid Beis, heading 3/4 of the way down on Ayin Hamid Beis. Amar Rabba Rav Yochanan, Lo ki Yerushalayim shel Olam Hazeh, Yerushalayim shel Olam Haba. It says the Yerushalayim of this world is not like the Yerushalayim of the next world. Yerushalayim shel Olam Hazeh today, Kol Harotze La'alos Olam. Some of the highest aliyah rates since October 7th. We've seen in a long time. We're running toward the fire. That's what Jews do apparently. But Shel Olam Haba Ein Olam Ela Mizumonim La. No, the only people in Olam Haba who get to go to Yerushalayim are people who are invited. That's what the pasuk means. V'chol mikraeha. Another reason to try and be a tzaddik. That means that in the Olam HaEmes we'll hopefully be called to be able to be invited to Yerushalayim. Tzaddikim will soon be called with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shneimar, what does the pasuk say? This is a pasuk from Yeshaya called Nikra Vishmi Ulichvodi Barasiv Yitzarti Asisiv. The ones that I made, the ones that work for me, they'll be called by my name. And then the Gemara broadens this and says, V'amar Shmuel Bar Nachmeni Amar Rav Yochanan Gimel Nikru Al Shemo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are three who literally are called by the name of Hashem. Ve'eluhein Tzaddikim u'Mashiach v'Yerushalayim. These three things, these three people or things, are referred to by Hashem's name. Tzaddikim Hada Amar. That was the pasuk we just saw above. Mashiach Tichsiv, the pasuk says by Mashiach, which is a pasuk in Yirmiyah. The pasuk says, "V'zeh shemo asher yikreo Hashem tzidkenu." His name is going to be Hashem tzidkenu. Sounds sacrilegious, but it's not. And Yerushalayim, we're a quarter of the way down. Tichsiv saviv shmona asar elef v'shem ha'ir miyom Hashem shama. Al tikri shama ela shema. Hashem shema. Hashem is its name. So these are the three things. You have these three things are referred to as Hashem's name, which is Tzadikim, Mashiach, and Yerushalayim. Amar Belazar, Sidin Tzadikim Shem Lifnehan Kadosh. Kederach Shalom Lifnei Kadosh Baruch Hu. In front of the Tzadikim, there will be a time when the phrase of Kadosh will be said in front of them, in front of the Yidden, in front of the Tzadikim, just like by Kadosh Baruch Hu. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, a pasuk in Yeshaya. The pasuk says, "V'haya nishar b'tzion v'anosar b'Yerushalayim," the remnants of Yerushalayim, Kadosh ye amer lo. That's what they're going to say in front of it. They're going to say Kadosh. And the people who are left in Yerushalayim, what do we say at the top of the page? They're invited. It's an invite-only list of tzaddikim. So who's left? That means that Kadosh is being said in front of these people. Yerushalayim is going to be raised Gimel Parsos. That's like, I think, 12 miles. I think that's how it works out. It's a big distance off the ground. Shneimar, as the pasuk says in Zechariah, and the pasuk says, "V'ra'ama v'yashava sachteha." My sachteha kitachtiya, like its base. So that means that the height off the ground is 3 parsa, like the expanse of its base, which is 3 parsa wide. Umimai dahai tachtea tlasa parse havya. How do we know that the footprint of Yerushalayim is 3 parsa? Amar Rabba, Amar li hahu saba l'didi chazi Yerushalayim kamaisa. I saw the first iteration of Yerushalayim, which tlasa parse havya. Ay v'shema tomar yesh tsar la'alos. You're saying Yerushalayim is 3 parsa to get up to where you have to get to. That's a big headache. That's dozens and dozens and dozens of flights of stairs, hundreds of flights of stairs. Talmud Lomar, don't worry. This is a miraculous scenario. And when from Sefer Yeshaya, we see a pasuk, Mi Eila, who are these? Ka'av to ufenu, like the clouds, they will go up. V'chayonim el arubosem, and like doves who are going into their house of sleep. Basically, people will be lifted up to that space, 2 lines before the wide lines, halfway down on Ein Ham, at Beis Amar Papa Shmamina, Hai Eva, clouds are tlasa parse midli. Clouds typically hang out about 3 parsa off the ground. And last few words on the last of the short lines, Amar Reb Chanina bar Papa, Bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lases es Yerushalayim b'mida. Initially, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted the size of Yerushalayim to be a fixed size. I'm making this up, but 3 parsa by 3 parsa square. Okay, that's what we wanted. Shene'emar, because the pasuk says, and this is a pasuk from Zechariah. The pasuk says, "V'omer ana ata holech v'yomer elai lamod es Yerushalayim liros kama rechava v'kama orko." So Amru Malachi Asharis Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ribono Shel Olam Harbe Krachim Barasa Ba'olamcha. You created a lot of worlds, Shalom Olam of the Goyim. V'lo nasata midas archan u'midas rachman. Why are you being so limited? Perhaps we can expand Yerushalayim to be even bigger. Yerushalayim Sheshimcha Besocha. Your name is attached to it. Umikdashcha Besocha, and your temple is there. B'tzadikim Besocha. Atanosim Ba Mida. Why are you limiting Yerushalayim to a particular size? Let it be as big as it can get. It says the Gemara, Miyad, then the pasuk continues, Vayomer Elav roots daber lanar halaz, lemor prazos teshev Yerushalayim, merov adam uvehema besocha. It's going to be prazos, it's going to be cities that are not mugbal by a wall. They can grow to be wider and wider. As wide as they are to be, they will be, whatever the case may be. And that's what the Gemara says. Getting toward our end for the day. We're right now 7 lines into the wide lines. We have about 7 lines left. We're going to be stopping at the 2 dots at the end of that line before the word itmar. Amarish Lakish, Asir Kadosh Baruch Hu lahosif al Yerushalayim elef tapaf ginos. Elef times tes pei fe. That's 89. So if that's not, it's 169. It's 80 plus 80 plus 9. That's how many ginos we're going to add. And elef kapal migdalim, 1,000 times 210. That's 100 plus 80 plus 30. That's migdalim. That's how many towers. Elef litzui biranios. There's going to be 1,000 times litzui and biranios are large buildings. 30, 40, 136, 146 times 1,000. And elef ushne, 1,002 times shilo is tot faros, which is another luxurious type of building. What did the Mefarshim say this was? Where is it? There it is. Ketanim ibiranios. These are smaller castles, the Rashbam says, a third of the way down, a quarter of the way down. And that we're multiplying by Shiloh, which is 300 plus 10 plus 30, which is 345. So 1,002 times 345. This is Rabbi Shechter territory. You can ask him. I don't know what all this means. B'cholachas ve'achas, in all of these builds, havya kitzipore b'shalvasa. It's like the city of Tzipori when it was in its tranquil days. What was that like? And the Gemara here says a remarkable number. Tanya Amar Reb Yossi, Ani ra'isi Tzipori b'shalvasa. I saw Tzipori when it was in its tranquil days. There were 180,000 marketplaces just for one product, a particular dish that they would eat. Unbelievable. The pasuk says, that there were boxes upon boxes, 33 of them, and it says pe'amim as an extra word. My shalosh pe'amim. My shalosh shloshim pe'amim. Why did it say the extra word pe'amim? So Amar Reb Levi, Amar Reb Papi, Mishum Reb Yoshua d'Sichni. In Gimel, if it's going to be 3 layers, in Gimel Yerushalayim hein kolachas v'achas yesh b'shloshim madurim. If it's 3 high, then it's 30 wide. Madurim lamala. Im shloshim, if it's 30 Yerushalayim hein, then kolachas v'achas yesh b'shlosha madurim lamala. If it's 30 wide, then it's 3 tall. One way or the other. There's going to be 90 units, it seems, for each of these particular buildings. Again, there's so much more going on beneath the surface. But we're going to stop right here at the Itmar, about 3/4 of the way down. We'll pick up from here tomorrow. And as mentioned, in Mirz Hashem, we'll catch up tomorrow learning Ayin Vav, all of Ayin Vav, and Mirz Hashem, all of Ayin Zayin. If we do fall short, we'll be stopping at the Mishnah on Ayin Zayin and Beis. Wishing you all a beautiful night.